So, without further ado, for those of you who do not yet know me, my name is Grier Cooper, and I teach women how to release anxiety so that they can stand in their deepest peace and power and be the calm, centered, self assured women they were born to be. And it is my pleasure to introduce today's guest, Vanessa Nixon. And Vanessa is a traditional naturopath and author who is passionate about helping women thrive during the spiritual initiation of their menopausal journey. And she's really adept at the attunement to natural health. Teaches invigorating dance, therapeutic movement, and teaches women how to see their innate natural beauty. After she reimagined her own life at age 50, Vanessa discovered a profound and deeply intuitive process that helped her to embrace her fabulous inner wise woman fearlessly. And she now shares these powerful and ancient initiations with women who also want to reclaim vibrant good health in their own sacred midlife transit. So, welcome, Vanessa. It is such a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much, Greer. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm honored that you have asked me to join in this talk that, as you said, is really near and dear to both of our hearts. And so I'm just delighted to be bringing this information to anybody that might be in need of it.
Yes. Well, today's topic is hidden causes of anxiety. And in my work, I talk a lot about the mental habits that we get into of projecting into the future, feeling fearful about the future, maybe reliving painful moments of the past or negative self-talk. But you really look at these things from a health aspect. So you see a lot of causes in your work of things that create an uptick in women's anxiety. So what are some of the most common ones that you see?
Yes, you're right. I do see that a lot. In fact, it's an underlying current in probably most of the women that come to see me. And some of the more hidden causes that women aren't thinking about are hormone imbalance. That's probably the number one.
Mhm.
Nutrient deficiencies. That's also a very big one. Gut imbalance. We see a lot of digestive disturbance. Sedentary lifestyle is also another hidden cause, as well as just the changes that our bodies are going through, especially in the group of women that I specifically work with, which would be women over the age of maybe 35 as they're going into perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. And particularly the way that our society has conditioned us to feel
Mm,
about these body changes.
yes. Yeah, well, it is a big shift, and I think it takes a lot of women by surprise. I know, having gone through that journey myself, I experienced super heavy cycles all of a sudden, and I started having dizzy spells, feeling kind of just not right, feeling like I might pass out, and the doctors couldn't figure out what it was. They ran an anemia test that came back normal, and eventually I was diagnosed with a ferritin imbalance. But these dramatically heavy cycles really cause a lot of anxiety for women because, you're running to the restroom to manage all this, right? Worrying that you're going to stain your clothing or maybe even stain furniture, depending on the heaviness of your cycle. So how common is this for women and what causes this uptick?
It is very common. It's actually one of the first signs of perimenopause
Mhm.
is changes in the cycle.
Okay.
And we often see a variety of changes in the cycle. And that could be in some women having lighter cycles or shorter cycles, But in a lot of women, probably, close to 50% of women were seeing longer cycles or heavier cycles, and sometimes super heavy cycles, as you said, that can really impact our day and how we go through that day. And with some of those very specific examples that you gave about, worrying about showing through the clothing, staining furniture, what we're, how we're going to navigate our day and make sure that we're close to the bathroom in case we need it, locating all the restrooms in public places,
Right.
that can cause a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
That's continuous throughout each day. And so one of the main reasons that we are experiencing that is because our hormones are starting to shift. As we are going through perimenopause, our hormones start to shift. Right. And when they do, there's often some fluctuations.
Okay.
And when those fluctuations are happening in our hormones, that means that the ratios between the hormones can become unbalanced.
Okay.
So,
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, obviously we're seeing changes, so that means that changes are occurring within us. So let's dive into hormones a bit then. It's a topic that's very complicated, complex, confusing, and it doesn't seem like there's anyone you can call. There's no hotline to call and be like, I'm freaking out, I'm going through all these weird changes, and a lot of times your doctor isn't able to really address it as either.
Right, exactly. So many women come to me saying the doctor just said, oh, it's just what happens, you have to deal with it. And they really feel ignored. They feel like they aren't being heard. So yes, really understanding what's going on with the hormones and how to address these things naturally is super important for us. So the main imbalances that we hear about during this phase of life, especially for women, over the age of 35, and in relationship to anxiety, are progesterone, estrogen, sometimes thyroid.
Okay.
And so there is a very intricate dance that occurs between all of our hormones to maintain harmony in our bodies. And when one or other of them is low, as we see when we're in this phase of life, our hormones start to decline. They're supposed to decline. That's perfectly normal. But they're supposed to decline in a similar ratio to each other. Right. But when we see these fluctuations, that skews the ratio between the hormones. And that is when we see imbalance. It's not that the hormones are declining. That's not the imbalance. The imbalance is the fluctuation in the ratios between the hormones as they decline. And that's when we can start to see symptoms like anxiety. And this is especially the case when we see the picture of high estrogen and low progesterone. So when progesterone might be declining faster than estrogen, we see this bigger imbalance between the two. Also, high thyroid can cause a lot of anxiety. So those are some of the symptom, pictures we see with high estrogen, low progesterone, possibly high thyroid. Okay. However, what I believe is that it's more important to be looking at cortisol rather than estrogen, progesterone, thyroid, because we also see very high anxiety with high cholesterol as well as low cholesterol and cortisol. Did I say cholesterol or did I say cortisone?
I heard cholesterol, but
yeah, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I meant cortisol. So high cortisol, cortisol, low cortisol. That's what we're talking about here. Okay. And cortisol is a master hormone. Okay. So what that means is that cortisol influences all of the minor reproductive hormones like estrogen, progesterone, thyroid. So when cortisol is out of balance, whether it's high or low, then it's going to trickle down and have an effect on all the reproductive hormones. And it's going to cause imbalance. And so this is where our focus should be, is on cortisol. And making sure that that is balanced. And, you know, we call cortisol the stress hormone, right? Mm-hmm. And so stress is causing anxiety. It's causing all of these imbalances. Mm-hmm. And so it makes sense that when we are looking at hidden sources of anxiety, that one of the first places we look is cortisol. And once we balance cortisol as this master hormone, it's going to have a direct effect at balancing all of the minor hormones that it influences. Does that make sense?
Yes. So it sounds like cortisol really is like the linchpin. And so if this is out of whack, then so is this, and this. So I heard you say the word stress, and I feel like we might want to maybe define stress a bit, just because there are different kinds of stress. So is it a one particular kind of stress that impacts cortisol, or are there different types?
There are so many different kinds of stress, and particularly with cortisol, we're looking at not only the things that happen to us in our lives, like, you know, stress in our careers, stress in our relationships, stress of caretaking, stress in, you know, all of the daily tasks. You know, these are all stressors that we are familiar with,
right,
that can affect our production of cortisol and can cause it to either go really high or sometimes just flatline because our adrenals shut down, and, you know, there's a whole cascade of effects. Also, especially with women over the age of 35, because we're having all of these internal changes in our body, that can cause a lot of stress internally in our physiology, and affect cortisol.
Makes sense.
And then we also have the stress of the conditioning that we've had in our culture about what it means to be a maturing woman, and what all of these changes, whether they're internal or external, mean for us as women.
Right.
And that is an extreme hidden cause of stress and anxiety for so many of us, because our culture is telling us we've peaked already. You know, it's all downhill, and we feel invisible. As we mentioned earlier, we go to the doctor, they ignore us. They just say, oh, it's just gonna decline from here. You just have to deal with it, or you just have to suffer. We might start feeling invisible in our careers, in our jobs. You know, that's a big issue for women as they're maturing out in the corporate world. And in our families, we might feel also that, you know, we're taking care of everybody else, but nobody's taking care of us.
Right.
And so anyway, we have all of these responses that are conditioned into us as we grow up in our culture, and that causes an enormous amount of stress. So there's stress coming externally as well as internally and intrinsically.
Yes. Well, you know, I know that frankly, you couldn't pay me to be 20 again. Um, and I know that, you know, there's this idea that we have to be forever young, forever skinny, forever perfect, whatever. But having come the other side of the whole perimenopausal journey and feeling this renewed sense of energy and enthusiasm, I feel like I'm just getting started. And so I think if a lot of women can understand that we do get this whole, like, I think I read somewhere recently that the menstrual cycle takes up something like 80% of our energy during during our lifetimes, and so now we get all this energy back once that's done. Um,
It's amazing. It is this phase of life, I think, is the most potent and empowering phase of life. And as you mentioned, there are some ancient cultures who believed that because we hold on to our menstrual blood in this phase of life, this is when we actually come into our full power. This is when we come into our full wisdom and our full ability to make an impact in the world, only once we are menopausal. And the in traditional Chinese medicine, they call this phase of life, they call it the second spring, because is it's very similar to puberty, adolescence.
right.
It's like the second time that we go through such a big transition in our endocrine system. And so it is like this is a new phase, a new opportunity to start a whole new life,
Right.
to really take all of that energy that we have and all of that potency and power. And I call menopause a spiritual initiation, because it really is a window for us, or a doorway that we can walk through into a very empowered, vital, vibrant place in our lives.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for that. I think that's a very comforting thing to know, that it is revered in certain cultures. And so that's something that we can hang on to for ourselves and remember that, because, we're only as empowered as we feel within ourselves. And we can choose to make this into, as you said, the second act, an incredible, potent, creative, vibrant time of life. So let's circle back to one of the things we were just touched on in the beginning, where you were talking about nutritional deficiencies and their impact on health and well-being. Can you say a little more about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a really, really key, essential place to look when we are experiencing anxiety, because our bodies function in large part, on what we feed it. And so if we're having some deficiencies, then our body is not going to function the way that we would like. And so when we're looking at anxiety, some of the main nutrient deficiencies that we see are magnesium, which is essential for optimal brain function, mental health, especially the neurotransmitter activity and nervous system functioning. And what we have found in research is that the vast majority of people are deficient in magnesium. Then we can look at zinc. So studies also reveal a link between zinc deficiency and anxiety. And just like magnesium, zinc supports the proper functioning of the nervous system. And then after magnesium and zinc, the next thing I like to look at are the B vitamins, especially vitamin B6. This also supports your nervous system. It plays a key role in the production of the calming neurotransmitters in your brain, including serotonin and GABA. And then we have the omega-3 essential fatty acids, and they're called essential because your body can't produce them on its own. So it's essential that we get those through the diet. And studies have found that people with the lowest levels of omega-3 fatty acids tend to have the most severe anxiety. So there's a very clear link there. Selenium is another one that we have a lot of research around deficiency of selenium being associated with a significantly greater incidence of anxiety. And then, as you mentioned, iron is a trace mineral, and it is found in every living cell in your body. So it's another really important place to look. It's an important cofactor in the synthesis of serotonin. And so magnesium, zinc, B vitamins, omega-3s, selenium, iron, those are some of the first places that we would look in terms of, are there some gaps in your nutrition? Are there some deficiencies in these particular vitamins and
Okay.
minerals?
Okay. Yes. Well, I mean, that's an extensive list, and something like magnesium, for instance, I know it relaxes muscles, and it sounds like the rest of it really works on nervous system and brain functionality.
Mhm.
So when you're missing one of these key ingredients, then you feel a little bit off on the inside, and that can create more anxiety for somebody. So
Absolutely.
let's then segue into talking about some things that people can do to feel more balanced and refreshed. When I speak with people, we talk a lot about breath work, for instance, because breath and nervous system are very interconnected. And so if we're feeling anxious to, take the focus to the breath, slow it down, smooth it out, lengthen the breath so you're getting more oxygen, which is going to send a calming message to the nervous system. What are some things that you might recommend people could do to start now?
Yeah, to start right now, there are many things, and I love your suggestion of breath work. That's something that I often work with as well because it is so key.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so uh, one of the first places that I address with women is uh, their nutrition. And so there are some really simple things that you can do on your own. Number one is making sure that you have fermented foods in your diet on a daily basis. Ideally, a bite or two at every meal.
Mm-hmm.
What that's going to do is help to create a balanced gut flora. And we know that there is a direct link between your gut flora, your brain health, your immune health, your nervous system health.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if we can get your gut functioning really well, that's not only going to help you absorb all the other nutrients that you might be deficient in, but it's also going to really boost all of those systems and functions of your body to get those natural probiotics in. Another thing that you can be doing is looking at making sure you have all the macronutrients in each meal,
Mm-hmm.
that you've got protein, you've got healthy fat,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got the complex carbohydrates, the fiber
Okay.
that you need in each meal. And women especially tend to not be eating as much protein
Mm-hmm.
as they need throughout the
Mm-hmm.
day. And so, again, that's going to affect the energy stores that your body has for the correct functioning of your brain and your nervous system. And then the third thing that you can be doing is looking at your movement. How often are you moving your body throughout the
Mm-hmm.
day? Are you taking breaks every hour or so, even if it's just a couple of minutes, to get up and stretch and move your body in natural ways? And sometimes we relegate thinking about movement as exercise. So we
Mm-hmm.
think, oh, wait, I just need to exercise at the end of the day, or I just need to do some exercise in the beginning of the day. But I love to kind of reframe that and think about what kind of natural movements can we be doing throughout our days. And
Yeah.
that might even be just like housework, or it might be properly lifting things. It might be just sitting and standing and squatting
Mm-hmm.
and twisting, and all of these natural body movements that help to massage the organs and get the blood flowing and improve the circulation. And all of those things together
Mm-hmm.
help to regulate our nervous system and help to calm us and lower anxiety, lower stress and anxiety.
Right. Yes, well, movement is definitely key. One of my chiropractor friends likes to say that sitting is the new smoking. And a lot of us work at computers, or we're working jobs where we sit for, the majority of the day. And the next thing you know, 8 hours have gone by, and, you're shortening the front of your body. It's causing problems in the back and the lower back. So getting movement, I call them movement snacks, just
Oh, I love
throughout the day. So, so you just stand up, walk around, go look out the window, whatever. Also helps to, kind of calm you and give your nervous system a break, because we can't be looking at screens all day long without giving a reset to our nervous system.
absolutely. Absolutely. I love that movement snacks. I call them short movement meditations.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, so I love thinking about that in short little bites.
Right.
They're so effective.
Right. Yes. Well, wow. Thank you so much, Vanessa. We have covered a lot today. We have talked about hormones and their role in all of the body changes we go through in midlife. We've talked about nutrition and how that also can impact anxiety. And we even shared a few tips about things that people can do today just to help to feel more balanced and more replenished. So I just want to thank you for being here. And if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Well, I'm happy for people to just get in touch with me here on Instagram, DM me.
Okay.
And then the other way is to email me, vanessa@herbsofgrace.com. Those are both perfect ways to get a hold of me. And I do have a very simple, practical checklist of the things that you can do to naturally relieve anxiety. So if anybody would like me to send them that checklist, just DM me here on Instagram and I'd be happy to send it to you.
Okay, wonderful. That sounds really great. Thank you so much, everyone. It was wonderful to have you join us here today. I hope that you come away with a feeling of empowerment, knowing that these changes that we go through in midlife are very manageable. And not only that, that we have this amazing next chapter to look forward to, which can be a very empowering and brilliant and creative time of life. So thank you again for being here. Thank you, Vanessa. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and take good care.
Thank you, Grier. It's been great.
Bye for now.